Okay, welcome to Byju's Exam Prep IAS. Good evening, everyone. This is Shyam Kagodia. Now, before I start the discussion, if there is no issue with the sound, can you give me a thumbs up? Done. Okay, so let's start. I hope all of you have attempted the test PTS paper, right? Economics paper 1, right? And subsequently, there will be economics 2, economics 3, etc., etc. So today we will have a discussion on certain very important, let's say, conceptual questions which have been asked in this particular paper. Let's have a discussion. Okay. Now, question number 2. And please understand how I've arranged. Okay. How I've arranged the questions. Basically, if you have seen the syllabus, right? The syllabus was like this. The introduction was the first part, that is certain concepts in microeconomics. First, we will deal with the questions on microeconomics. Then we'll take up questions on the GDP, concept of gross domestic product. After that, we'll take a question on taxation. We'll take up questions on taxation, and finally, we'll cover questions on employment and poverty. Employment and poverty. Okay, so this is basically the flow that I'll be following. Let's start. Question number 2. Central government is the only buyer. It is the only buyer in the domestic defense manufacturing sector. This is an example of which of the following types of market structure. Now, this is basically a question from NCERT book. NCERT book, again, not specifically the statement, but the concept that has been asked is right, basically from the NCERT book. That is in NCERT Microeconomics, class 12th. There are different concepts such as perfect competition, monopolistic market, oligopolistic market, right, etc. like this. So based on that, we have given a question here, and the right option for this question is option D. I'll explain it. Just have patience. First and foremost, monopoly means what? Monopoly generally means there is a single supplier in the market. Single supplier in the market. And the problem with the monopoly market, right, the problem with the monopoly in a market is the supplier will determine the prices. There is no industry, there is only one company. The supplier will determine the prices. Supplier will determine how much to be supplied, etc., etc., etc. Right? There is a statement, sir, competition is low. There is no competition in the first place. Monopoly means a single supplier. So monopoly is that concept. What about oligopoly? In oligopoly, there are more than one suppliers. Generally, we say there are few or many sellers in the market. We generally call this as oligopolistic market. And then there is a perfect competition, which is generally not observed in the market. It's just like, right, a theoretical situation. Perfect competition means lot of sellers are there in the market. Lot of sellers. And if I have to go beyond that, lot of sellers are there, and the market, in the market, lot of information is available to both sellers as well as buyers. The products which are being sold by the sellers, all of them are identical. You cannot differentiate. Generally, these are referred to as the features of a perfect competition. But in the statement, it says the central government is the only buyer. They're not talking about the sellers here. They're talking about the only buyer in the domestic defense manufacturing sector. This is an example of which of the following? It is an example of monopsony. Remember this. This is an example of monopsony. In simple terms, I'm pretty sure many of you would have typed monopsony in the Google, and they'll say monopsony is exactly opposite of a market situation of monopoly. That is, in monopoly, only one seller is there, right? Buyers are there. Whereas in monopsony, sellers are there, but there is only one buyer, right? That is the right option for this question is option D. Let me go to question number 5. Consider the following. Taste and preference of the consumer will change. Income of the consumer is increasing. Price of the related goods is changing. Which of the above may lead to a shift in the demand curve? Now, there are two concepts here. One is called as a movement along the curve. One is movement along the curve, and the second one is shift, right, in the curve, right? Shift of the curve. What is the basic idea here? In case of movement along the curve, imagine this is a demand curve. We will move from, let's say, point A to point B and move from point A to point C. Either we will go up the curve or we will move down on the curve. This will happen only when, I repeat, this will happen only when the price of the product changes. I will repeat the statement here. Whenever you have, right, this concept, that is a movement along the curve, this will be observed only when the price of the product changes. That is, when the price of the product either goes up, right, and the price of the product goes down, this will lead to movement along the curve. And remember this, whenever you talk about movement along the curve, the technical terms we also use is contraction and expansion. Contraction and expansion. These are the technical terms. That is, demand has contracted, demand has expanded, etc. like this. But whenever you talk about shift of the curve, whenever you talk about, let's say, shift of the curve, imagine this is the demand curve right now. If the price remains the same, not if, the price in the shift of the curve will always remain the same. But because there is a change in the preference, because there is a change in the income, because there is a change in the price of the related goods, etc., either the demand curve in this case will shift either to the right or will shift to the left. I hope you understand this. Demand curve will either shift to the right or shift to the left. And many of you will ask me, sir, how? How is that possible? How is that possible that the demand curve is shifting to the right or left like this? Let me give a very simple example. Imagine the price of the product right now is, let's say, 10 rupees and your income is 100 rupees. Your income is 100, the price of a commodity is 10. Is it okay if I calculate it like this? At 10 rupee per unit, now you will be able to purchase 10 units of the product. And if your income increases to 120 rupees, the price of the product remains the same, 10 rupee, but now you will be able to purchase more units, more number of goods at the same price of 10 rupee. So in this case, price has remained same. Is it okay? In this case, price has not changed. Price has remained the same, but the demand has actually changed. Can it go opposite side also? Can it move in the other side? Of course, yes. So understand this. If the price of, if the income goes down from 100 rupees to, let's say, 70 rupees. If the income goes down from 100 to 70 rupees, what will happen? The price of the product is same 10, but at 70 rupees income, now you'll be able to purchase only 7 goods. So understand the logic here. Because of the change in the income, because of change in the taste and preference, because of, right, let's say, change in the price of the related goods, so that is the substitutes or complementary goods, except the price of the commodity, if anything else changes, other factors will change, then you'll observe a shift, you'll observe a shift of the curve either to the left or to the right. Right? This is called as a shift of the curve. Now look at the statement here. Consider the following. Taste and preference of the consumer is changing. Income of the consumer is increasing. Price of the related goods is changing. Which of the above may lead to a shift in the demand curve? Right option is option D, all the three. Okay, right option is option D, all the three will lead to a shift in the demand curve. Okay, now this is question number 5. Question number 9. Consider the following statements. An increase in the price of the sugar is likely to decrease the demand for tea. An increase in the price of the tea is likely to increase the demand for coffee. Which of the statements given above is or are incorrect? You need to find which are incorrect. Let's start. Generally, what they're talking about here, sugar and tea. What is sugar and tea? Right, these are complementary goods. These are complementary goods. And the second set of goods, tea and coffee, these are substitute goods. These are substitute goods. So one statement is on complementary goods, another statement is on substitute goods. So first statement, increase in the price of sugar is likely to decrease the demand for tea. Always remember this. In the context of complementary goods such as sugar and tea, if the price of the sugar goes up, demand for sugar will go down, right? Let me know. If the price of the sugar goes up, the demand for sugar will go down. And when the demand for sugar will go down, right, what will happen to consumption of sugar? Consumption of sugar will go down. And when you're consuming lesser sugar, what will happen to demand or consumption of tea? What will happen to demand and consumption of tea? Automatically go down. Right? What is the meaning of it? Don't buy out all of it. Always remember this. These are complementary goods. And in the complementary set of goods, there is a negative relation. I repeat, there is a negative relation. That is, if the price of a complementary good goes up, the demand for the other good should automatically go down. That is basically opposite, negative relation. So an increase in the price of the sugar is likely to decrease the demand for tea. Statement is correct. Statement is correct. Second, and increase in the price of tea is likely to increase the demand for coffee. Substitutes. Why? So understand this. Price of tea will go up, right? Start answering. If the price of a tea goes up, what will happen to demand for tea? Demand for tea will go down. And when the price of tea goes up, demand goes down. Don't you think people will start substituting tea with coffee? Hence, the demand for coffee will go up. Demand for coffee will go up. So again, in substitute goods, the direction is same. That is positive relation. Remember that. That is more important. Positive relation. Price and demand for substitutes will go in the same direction. Price and demand for complementary goods will move in opposite direction. Negative relation here, positive relation here. Right, so second statement is also correct, but I'm asked to find out which of the above are incorrect. Which of the above are incorrect? So right option is option D, neither 1 nor 2. Neither 1 nor 2. Next one. Question number 11. Which one among the following best describes conspicuous consumption which was recently in the news? Okay. Right, which one among the following best describes conspicuous consumption which was recently in the news? Now please understand, there is a type of good which is called as a Veblen good. There is a set of good called as a Veblen good. And generally, right, generally these Veblen goods are said to be having a conspicuous demand. Is it okay? I'll repeat it. Generally, the Veblen goods are said to be having a conspicuous demand. Right? Why conspicuous demand here? In the context of Veblen good, remember this, the price and demand will move in the same direction. I repeat the statement. Right? The Veblen goods, you will observe that the demand and price, both of them will move in the same direction, either rising simultaneously or going down simultaneously. In fact, Veblen goods do not follow law of demand. They do not follow a law of demand, because law of demand states what? If the price goes up, demand should go down. Is it okay? I'll repeat the statement. If the price goes up, the demand should go down. Right? So understand this very carefully. In case of Veblen goods, which are very, very luxurious products, luxury goods, the law of demand is not applicable. And we say that these products, that is Veblen goods, have a conspicuous demand. Right? That is a basic idea. Now, the term conspicuous demand, I said it is associated with Veblen good, and Veblen goods are rich or let's say luxury products, and not just normal luxury, high-end luxury product. For example, very, very high quality diamonds. Is it okay? Very, very high quality diamonds. Right. Second, let's say high-end real estate. Right? Very, very high-end real estate or yachts. Right. Or let's say aeroplanes. These are not the kind of goods or let's say the commodities which all of us will purchase. Very, very rich people will purchase generally these products. So the statement A, it involves spending on goods and services which are very, very luxurious or more luxurious is the right option. Right? A is the right option. Now there is a question. Okay, there is this particular question, sir. Question 9. Question 9, first statement is wrong. Right? I hope you are talking about this only. First statement is wrong. As coffee prices increase, the demand for tea will increase as people shift to tea because of its price low compared to coffee as it's a substitute. My dear, in the first statement, we are talking about sugar and tea. Sugar and tea are complementary goods. Sugar and tea are complementary, not a substitute goods. Whereas in the second statement, by the way, it is correct. I've told second statement is correct. Right? These are substitute goods. Right? That is why I said this is correct. Okay, so question number 11, option A is the correct one. Now, there is one more question, sir. Why are you not discussing all the questions? If that is a factual question, what is India's ranking, right, as per GDP? There is no need to have a discussion in that. It's either you know it or you don't know it. Hence, there is no need to discuss every question that is there. Focus on the conceptual questions. Focus on the conceptual questions. Okay. Now, let me go to the next one. Question number 15. Consider the following pairs: normal goods, Giffen goods, inferior goods, and Veblen goods. Okay. Now, what's a normal good? Normal good, right? I'll just club them. Normal and inferior, 1 and 3. Normal and inferior, these are the type of goods which are determined based on the income. The classification is done based on the income. That is, remember this, in case of a normal goods, the income and the demand will move in the same direction. I'll repeat the statement. In case of normal goods, the income as well as demand, both of them will move in same direction. Same direction. That is, if the income goes up, demand also goes up. If the income goes down, demand also goes down. These are called as normal goods. These are referred to as normal goods. Now look at the statement. Demand for the goods increases with the decrease in the income. Statement is in opposite direction. One is wrong. What about inferior goods? What about inferior goods? Inferior goods are those set of goods wherein income and demand are oppositely related. Meaning what? If in case of right inferior goods, if the income goes up, demand for this good will go down. If the income will go down, demand for this good will go up. So any example? Normal goods, AC, TV, refrigerator, right? All these are normal goods. What about inferior goods? Jowar, bajra are inferior goods. So in case of inferior goods, the income and demand are going to move in opposite direction. Look at the statement. Demand for the goods increases with the increase in the income. Same direction, positive relation. 3 is wrong. Come to Giffen goods. Demand for the goods increases with the decrease in the price. Just now we have discussed the Veblen good. Giffen goods, demand for the goods increases with the decrease in the price. No. The price goes up. Price goes up and the demand also goes up. The price goes up and the demand also goes up. These are called as Giffen goods. For example, Jowar. For example, Bajra. These are nothing but Giffen goods only. Very, very inferior goods are called as Giffen goods. I hope you understand. Very, very inferior goods are called as Giffen goods. Right? For example, Jowar and Bajra. Right? Imagine, here is a poor person. Price of Jowar goes up. Can they substitute Jowar with anything else? No, they don't have sufficient income. So what they will do? Despite the price of jowar going up, they will continue to consume larger quantity. They will purchase larger quantity of jowar. That is the basic idea of a given good. So demand for goods increases with the decrease in the price. It's wrong. What about the Veblen good? Demand for the goods increases with the increase in the price. We have already discussed this, right? The fourth statement is correct, but more importantly, please understand these kind of questions are asked by UPSC. Earlier, generally the type of question was asked was only pair 1 is correct. 1 and 2 are correct. 3 and 4 are correct. 1, 3, 4 are correct. These were the kind of options which were given earlier. But from last 1 year, UPSC has changed the pattern. And that is where the difficulty nature will increase. Whereas earlier you would simply use the elimination method, get the answer very easily. Use elimination method. Use this as a base and get the answer very easily. But what if the options are like this? Only 1 pair is correct. 2 pairs are correct. 3 pairs are correct. And all the pairs are correct. Right? So this is much more, right, let's say difficult in terms of, let's say, tricky level. You will have to know all the 4 options then. Right? So only 1 pair is correct. Right option for the question will be 15. That is 15A. Next, question number 35. Which of the following are considered final goods in an economic flow? Okay. Which of the following are considered as a final goods in the economic flow? Now, what do you mean by final goods? Simple. Imagine here is a company. The company will manufacture, right, let's say a product. Now, if this product is used as a raw material again, understand this carefully. If this product is used as a raw material again to produce one more good, this will be referred to as intermediary good. Is it okay? I'll repeat it. Right, I'll repeat it. Here is a company which is manufacturing a good. This good will be used as a raw material, as an input to manufacture one more good. Again, raw material is very important. That's a key term. This is called as an intermediary good. But what if a company produces a good which is consumed by, right, let's say buyers. Consumed means used. We are not using this product as a raw material. No, we are, right, directly consuming it. Sir, any example of this? Let's say, take this marker itself. Is it okay if I say to manufacture this marker, you require plastic? And can I say plastic which is manufactured by the company is, right, an intermediary good? Any doubts here? Let me know. It is an intermediary good. And a company will manufacture the marker, a pen. They will sell it to me. I will start using this particular pen. This pen, right, which is purchased by the buyers for the purpose of usage, this is called as a final good. This is referred to as a final good. Any difficulty in understanding the difference between intermediate and final good? The question is on final goods. Let's look at it. Let's look at it. Tea leaves purchased by a house. Tea leaf is purchased by a house. Now you tell me, in your house you will purchase a tea powder, by the way. For what purpose? Right? To prepare tea and consume it. It is not for selling. Right? Again, the key term is household here. A house will purchase a tea powder, right, so that the house will consume tea, not to sell. But rather than household, what if I say it is purchased by a restaurant? I hope you understand the statement now. What if I say rather than tea leaves are purchased by a household, right, it is purchased by the restaurant, then it becomes an intermediary good, right? So the statement 1 is a final good. Second, food grains are procured by the government from the farmers. Simple question to all of you. Why do you think government is purchasing food grains? So that the government will prepare food or to give it to other people in the market. Right? For example, government has a Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Anna Yojana. If you're reading newspaper, you would have read about it. Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Anna Yojana, National Food Security Act, etc. Government will use the food grain to distribute there. So it is not a final good, it is an intermediary good. Sieving machines purchased for garment factory. Tricky. Sieving machine purchased for garment factory. It's a final good. Anybody has a doubt here? Let me know. It is a final good. It's a final good, by the way. Right? Shall I go to the next one? Fourth, coffee beans purchased by cafe. Right? Whenever a coffee bean is purchased by the cafe, what is the reason? Right? They have purchased the coffee beans so that they can roast the coffee beans, convert that into coffee powder, make a coffee and sell the coffee. It is an intermediary good. So 1 and 3 are correct. Sieving machine is a doubt. My dear, please understand this. Generally, people get a doubt here because they don't understand what is raw material. They do not understand what is a raw material. For example, to manufacture this pen, you tell me what is raw material. Let me know. To manufacture this pen, what is a raw material? Raw material is plastic. Do you think machine is a raw material? Let me know. Do you think machine is a raw material? No. We used a machine to manufacture the pen. Machine is not a raw material. Machine is a finished good. Machine is a final good. Specifically within final good, please understand this. It will be divided further into capital good and consumer good. Capital and consumer. Consumer goods such as Maggi that you eat in your house, bread that you purchase, biscuits that you purchase, a TV, refrigerator, washing machine, all these are consumer goods. And the machines which are used for production, I repeat, machines which are used for production, these are not raw materials. Raw material means what? It is used in the pen. In the pen, plastic is visible. So plastic is the raw material. Is the machine visible here? Is machine present in the marker here? No. Right? Absolutely no. So that's a capital good. Machines are capital goods. So the sieving machine, imagine, just take a simple example. Imagine you open up a factory, right? You are now manufacturing or producing, let's say, Levi's jeans, right? Levi's jeans. Now you will purchase sieving machines. But what you will do with sieving machines? You will produce pants or jeans and you will sell the jeans. So the cloth that was purchased to produce the jeans, that is an intermediary good. But the sieving machine is not an intermediary good. It is a final good. It's a capital good. So 1 and 3 are correct. Right statement will be, right, or right option will be option B, right, 2 of the above. Question number 35, 2 of the above. Next, question number 38. Question number 38. Consider the following statements with reference to elasticity of a demand. Income elasticity of a demand is negative for inferior goods. Price elasticity of a demand is usually more than 1 for luxury goods. Cross elasticity of a demand is positive for complementary goods. Let's start. First and foremost, what do you mean by elasticity of a demand? Simple. Elasticity of a demand measures how much will be the percentage change in the demand if there is a change in, let's say, price. If there is a change in, let's say, income. If there's a change in the price of the related good. Is it okay? I'll repeat it. What do you mean by elasticity of a demand here? It's simple. How much a demand will change when there's a change in the price, when there's a change in the income. And the measurement of that is called as elasticity of a demand. Let me start with the first statement here. Income elasticity of a demand is negative for inferior goods. Right? It is correct, by the way. Let me explain. What do you mean by inferior goods? Let's start. What do you mean by inferior goods? In case of inferior goods, income will go up, demand will go down. Agreed? Let me know if you disagree and tell me the reason also. Right? If income goes down, demand will go up. Opposite direction movement. Now, have a look at this. If you talk about income elasticity of a demand, You're measuring income elasticity of a demand. Simple question to you people. When you already know there is a movement in opposite direction always, what do you think will be the outcome here? Do you think the outcome will be positive or do you think the outcome will be negative? I hope you understand. You can calculate, you can spend half an hour, waste your time in the exam, but very simple concept. When you already know both are moving in opposite direction, what will be the outcome? Outcome will be negative. Some of you are saying positive, then your CSAT is also very weak. Forget about economics, your CSAT is also very weak. Right? Income elasticity of a demand is negative. Sir, how come? I'll just throw an arbitrary number here. Imagine your income is 100. Income will go up to 110. Increase by 10%. Increase by 10%. And the demand earlier was 80 units. Now the demand has fallen down to, let's say, 64 units. What has happened to demand? Demand has fallen down by 20%. Substitute. Income elasticity of a demand is equal to, right, basically change, right, basically change in the demand divided by change in the income. Change in the demand divided by change in the income. How much is the change in the demand? Minus 20%. How much is the change in the income? Plus 10%. Now what is the income elasticity of a demand here? Minus 2. So whenever there is a negative, whenever there is a negative outcome, please understand it is inferior good. Right? So first statement is correct. Second, price elasticity of a demand is usually more than 1 for luxury goods. Again, same concept. PD, price elasticity of a demand. If price goes up, what should happen to the demand for the goods? What should happen to the demand for the goods? A demand for the goods should go down. But if it is a luxury product, you tell me, if it is a luxury product, how much will the demand come down for luxury product? Will the demand change by a very small number or will the demand abruptly change by a large margin? Right? I hope you understand this. In case of a luxury product, if the price goes up, we know that the demand should come down. But how much will be the change in the demand? The demand change in the luxury product will be very high. I hope you understand. Demand change in the luxury product will be very, very high. Why, sir? Why the demand is changing very high? My dear, because this is not an essential for you. You can survive even without purchasing a luxury product. I hope you understand this. That's the reason, right? Price elasticity of a demand, PD, will be more than 1 for luxury products. That is, if the price goes up by 1%, demand will change by, let's say, 5%. Demand will change by 10%, which is much more than 1. Statement 2 is correct. Cross elasticity of a demand is positive for complementary goods. We have discussed complementary goods earlier. I hope you understand. Complementary goods earlier. So the price and the demand relationship in the complementary goods, is it positive or negative? I hope you understand. Right? Is it positive or negative? It's negative. Now look at this. Cross elasticity of a demand for complementary goods is positive, which is wrong. Which is wrong. So 1 and 2 are correct. Right option for the question will be option A, 1 and 2 only. Any doubts here? Any doubts? Okay. Question number 46. Question number 46. Consider the following statements with reference to opportunity cost. Right? Consider the following statements, right, in the context of opportunity cost. Right? 3, right? If you simply say 3, what do I understand? I asked any doubts. Your answer is 3. What should I understand? Question number 3, option 3, statement 3. That you'll have to have clarity, right? Be very careful when you ask questions. Consider the following statements with reference to opportunity cost. It is possibility that the projected return and the actual return of an investment would be different. Now please understand, the statement 1 is not talking about opportunity cost. Please understand, it's not talking about opportunity cost. What is opportunity cost in the first place? Opportunity cost simply means the potential benefit that you will forego whenever you choose one opportunity over the other. For example, Imagine, right? Imagine rather than investing in a fixed deposit where you could have earned 5% rate of interest, you invested in the savings bank account where you earned only 3% rate of interest. Now, what is the opportunity cost here? If you had kept 100 rupees in FD, you would have earned 5 rupees. But you kept 100 rupees in the savings bank account, you will earn only 3 rupees. So what is the potential benefit that you have foregone? What is the potential benefit that you have lost here? You have lost a potential benefit of 2 rupees. You have lost a potential benefit of 2 rupees. That is basically the concept of opportunity cost. So whenever you're forced to choose, you choose one, you will not choose the other option. There is always an opportunity cost. There is always an opportunity cost. It could be positive, it could be negative, or it could be even zero also. For example, many of you will say, sir, what if I chose FD and I did not choose savings bank account? Congrats then. You have an opportunity cost of +2. You have earned extra 2 rupees because of your option or because of your choice. So first statement, it is not talking about opportunity cost. They are talking about investments. Right? You invest here and you invest there. That basically investment risk. First one is wrong. And anyways, you can use elimination method here. It is also known as economic cost. Okay, it is also known as economic cost. Right? Statement 2 is correct. The other name for opportunity cost is economic cost. It is always a negative. No, it is not always negative. In some cases, it could be negative. In some cases, it could be positive. In some cases, it will be zero also. That is in the context of, let's say, free goods. Again, when I say free goods, please be very careful. The free good that I'm talking about here is the goods which are naturally available. The goods which are naturally available. For example, sunlight. Right? Do you think there is an opportunity cost to sunlight? Let me know. Do you think there is an opportunity cost to sunlight? No. Right? Let's say the air that is there. Is there an opportunity cost to air? No. So whenever certain goods are available naturally to us, free of a cost, we simply say opportunity cost is zero. And in other cases, opportunity cost could be positive, opportunity cost could be negative. So 1 is wrong, 3 is wrong. I need to find out only those which are correct. Right option will be option C, 2 only. Option C, 2 only. But statement 1 is alone is right or wrong? Statement 1 is wrong, my dear. It is possibility that the projected return and the actual return of an investment would be different. They are talking about the same investment. But when you talk about opportunity cost, you are not talking about only one investment. You are comparing 2 options. I hope you understand. You are comparing 2 options. That is 100 rupee you keep in FD rather than keeping in savings bank account. How much better returns you have earned, the comparison is made. Rather than keeping in FD, if you keep in savings bank account, how much is the potential loss that you have incurred? That is calculated. We are not talking about only one investment. We are talking about 2 options which are available for you. Right? That is the reason first one is wrong. So option C is the right one here. Okay. Which opportunity cost is best? Zero or negative? There is no answer to this, because please understand it depends on the context. Right? It all depends on the context. Opportunity cost, it is better if you have it in positive. Meaning what? You have made a good choice. I hope you understand. You have earned, you have gained from your opportunity cost. Right? That is the basic idea. Okay. 57. Question number 57. When a person is hungry, the first slice of pizza gives a certain amount of satisfaction. When he consumes additional few units, the total UT derived from the consumption of various slices of pizza is rising. There comes a point when the total utility has reached its maximum, and any additional consumption of pizza will cause a total utility to fall. At this point, marginal utility. This is a straightforward, a concept from NCERT book. This is picked up from NCERT book. In reference book, you will not get the concept of utility. The idea of utility, right? Idea of utility simply means what is the satisfaction. I hope you understand. Utility measures what is the satisfaction that is derived. That is, let's say I will eat one slice of pizza, I will drink, let's say, 1 cup of coffee, I will have the maximum amount of satisfaction. But as I keep on consuming the same product, that is, I keep on consuming same coffee again and again, or I keep on consuming pizza slices again and again, with every unit of consumption, the amount of satisfaction I keep on deriving will keep on reducing. I hope you understand this, right? That's natural. That should happen, by the way. If you eat the first slice of pizza, right, the amount of satisfaction that you derive will be highest. The next slice will not give you the same satisfaction. It would be lesser. So what will keep on happening is the utility level will keep on falling down. And you will reach a particular point. You will reach a particular point after this. Have a look at this. There comes a point when the total utility has reached a maximum. Total utility, by the way, not marginal, total utility. And any additional consumption of pizza will cause the total utility to fall. At this point, marginal utility, right option is 0. Marginal utility is right option is 0. What is the meaning of it? Imagine you keep on consuming one slice. First slice, you will get utility of 10, satisfaction of 10 units. After this, you will get the satisfaction of 8 units. After this, you will get a satisfaction of, let's say, 4 units. After this, you will get a satisfaction of 1 unit. And now, when you consume this slice, your satisfaction doesn't change. The satisfaction remains 0. And after this, right, after this point, if you consume one more slice of pizza, rather than getting satisfied, you will become dissatisfied, right? Meaning what? Your utility will enter into negative territory, -2, -4, -6, etc. So understand this carefully, right? There comes a point when the total utility has reached its maximum, right? This is the maximum total utility level. And any additional consumption of pizza will cause the total utility to fall. At this point, marginal. What do you mean by marginal? How much is the change in the utility? You're at this point. And when you reach at this point, the total utility is how much? 10, 8, 18, 22 and 23 units. Your total utility is 23 units. And right after this, utility will not increase. Utility will actually fall. So what is the marginal utility at this point? The marginal utility at this point is 0. You are not getting any benefit. You are not getting any satisfaction out of this. So right option for the question is option C, 0. Again, please understand this. This is from microeconomics. Generally, no books will cover it, but this is microeconomics. Basically, what will happen is UPSC can ask you this question. Why not negative? My dear, right, understand this. The point is this. You have reached a position where your total utility is maximum. And when you reach 0 point, when you reach this 0 point, your total utility is maximum. And right at this point, if you continue to consume, your utility will fall. That is, you are basically having a negative utility. At this point, what is the marginal utility? How much is the extra utility that you are going to get? You are not getting any extra utility at this point. Hence, the right option is 0 here. Okay. Question number 79. It is the collection of all possible combinations of the goods and services that can be produced from a given amount of resources and a given stock of technological knowledge. Which among the following is the best described in the above passage? Again, specifically from microeconomics, that is NCERT. There is a concept called as production possibility set. Production possibility set. Now, what is this production possibility set? Let me give a very simple example. Imagine you have 100 rupees. Imagine you have 100 rupees and you want to manufacture, let's say, 2 goods. Good A will, right, incur a cost of, let's say, 10 rupees to manufacture, and good B will incur a cost of 20 rupees to manufacture. Now, what are the different combinations that we can have? What are the different combinations? Can I have 10 units of this, 0 of this? Right? Can I have 1 unit of this, 8 units of this? 2, right? And 6 units. I'll continue like this. 3 units, 4. 4 units, 2. 5 units, 0. Any doubts? How did I get these numbers? Let me know. Right? Simple concept here. One product will basically require 10 rupees to manufacture, and another product will require 20 rupees to manufacture. If I have 100 rupees, what kind of combinations can I have using this 100 rupee? One extreme, I can manufacture 10 units of A and no units of B. Another extreme is I can manufacture 5 units of B and no units of A. Now, these are different combinations. If these are plotted on a graph, generally you will get a line like this. You will get a line, right? Assuming I've written A here, B here. Product A, number of units. Product B, number of units. So when I plot these along x-axis, along y-axis, for example, right, let's take A, right, the first combination here. First combination, 10, 0. This point will be 10, 0. If I take the last combination, 0, 5, this will be 0, 5. These points, right, different combinations, when these are plotted on a graph, connected, right, a line is drawn, a graph is drawn. This is called as a production possibility frontier. Production possibility frontier or production possibility curve. And what is the importance of production possibility curve? You can pick up any combination on the line at the given resources, any amount of resources that you have, any amount of goods that you want to produce. These are the different combinations that you can get. You cannot go beyond this particular graph. I hope you understand. You cannot go beyond this particular graph. You cannot reach any point above it. For example, sir, what do you mean by this? Imagine this is a point, and if you find out how many units of A can be manufactured here, how many units of B can be manufactured. Let's say hypothetically this is let's say 8 units of A and 3 units of B. Now, simple question to you: for every unit of B, how much money you require? 20 rupees. So to manufacture 3 units, you will require 60. To manufacture 1 unit of A, you require 10. So you will require 80. So 140 rupees is the total cost of production. But is it possible? Is it possible? No, because you have only 100 rupees. You have only 100 rupees. So it is not possible. So argument is simple here. It is a collection of all the possible combination of goods and services that can be produced from a given amount of resources and a given stock of technological knowledge. What is the meaning of this? That simply talking about production possibility set. Production possibility set. So 79 question, right option is option A. Okay. Next, question number 84. With reference to perfectly competitive market, consider the following statements. And again, this statement is from NCERT book, right? That is, the question is from NCERT book, class 12th, microeconomics. Whenever you talk about competitive market, please understand this. It's a market where multiple sellers are there. First, multiple sellers are there. Not one, not few, but many sellers. Right? And because there are many sellers, in the market, generally what happens is competition is very high. Flow of information is very high. The sellers, right, have lot of access to information. Buyers have lot of information. Right? The market, right? In the market, companies can easily enter and easily get out of the market. These are generally few of the features which are associated with perfectly competitive market. Now, firms are the price makers and industry is a price taker. What is the meaning of this? When there are multiple companies, let's say A, B, C, D, E, F. Imagine there are 6 companies. Simple example, right? Imagine there are 6 companies. Now, simple question to you, can a single company decide the price? I hope you understand. What is the price of the product in the market? Can a single company decide? What will happen is, if you decide, imagine you are the owner of A, you will say that I will sell this pen at 10 rupees and all the remaining 5 will decide to sell it at 8 rupees. Now tell me what will happen. Do you think you will be able to sell the product? No, your sales will not happen because other participants have, right, basically undercut you. They have lowered their selling price. So understand the logic here. Industry means group of companies. Is it okay? Industry is group of companies. Industry makes the price. Companies will take the price. Is it okay? Right? Industries will make the price. Companies will take the price and not the other way around. Firms are price takers. Industry is a price maker. Product of one firm cannot be differentiated from the product of another firm. Yes. Right? Because some of you will simply say, sir, what if A is better qualitatively? Remember this, whenever you talk about perfect competitive market, which is a hypothetical market, right? So in this perfect competition market, the products which are manufactured by all the companies are identical. They are identical. And because they are identical, you cannot differentiate between the products. So products of one firm cannot be differentiated. Statement 2 is correct. Firms have unrestricted entry and exit into the market. Statement 3 is correct. They can enter into market whenever they want to, right? And they can exit whenever they want to. All buyers and sellers are not well informed about the price, quality, and other relevant details about the product as well as the market. Fourth one is wrong. 2 statements are correct. Right option for the question is option B. Okay. First statement, what do you mean by price taker? What do you mean by, right, a price maker? Again, I'll repeat it. Follow this carefully. Imagine there are 6 companies. You are one of them. You will decide to sell your pen at 10 rupees in the market. Other 5 companies will decide to sell it at 8 rupees, 7 rupees. Why not at 5 rupees? Now, do you decide the market prices? No, the industry is deciding the market prices. You can simply say, I will decide my product. You sell it at 10. Who will purchase? When the similar product is available at 7 rupees, why anyone will purchase your product? Nobody will purchase. Right? So the industry will decide the price. You will, right, follow the price. So firms are price takers, not price makers. So right option is option B. Question number 85. Question number 85. Consider the following statements, or consider the following: Vande Bharat Express, Unified Payments Interface, Clean Air, All India Radio. Which of the above given goods are examples of public goods? Right? Vande Bharat. Do you think Vande Bharat is a public good? What do you mean by public good? Simple. Public good, everybody can use the good. And again, when I say good, take it for services also. Everybody can use this good, right? Everybody. You don't have to pay money for it. You can use. Vande Bharat. Do you think that is correct for Vande Bharat? Right? You can simply enter into Vande Bharat, say I want to move from this point to that point without taking a ticket. No, that is not allowed. And that is not allowed. Unified Payments Interface. Can you use a UPI without paying charges? Can I use UPI without paying charges? Of course, yes. UPI is a public good, by the way. This is the statement given by Finance Minister. That's the reason the question has been made. UPI is a public good. You don't have to pay. You can use UPI. Clean air. Right? Do you think you'll have to pay for clean air? No. Clean air, right, you can get access to. And what about All India Radio? Do you need to pay charges for All India Radio? No. You can, right, consume the services of All India Radio. So 2, 3, 4 are correct. Right. So the right option will be option C, 2, 3 and 4. Any questions here? UPI can exclude those who have not completed KYC. My dear, KYC is a guideline. What is the concept of a public and private good? One, you need to pay for it. Are you paying for using UPI? Are you paying for using UPI? No, you are not asked to pay any amount, right? And when you are using, can I also use it? That is a rivalry. One is excludability and the second one is rivalry. When you are using UPI, can I also use UPI? Of course, yes. So it is non-rival, it is non-excludable, right? That is the reason why UPI is a public good. Okay, right? So 2, 3, 4 are correct. Sir, Vande Bharat is also public good. Who said? No. You'll have to pay. If you want to use Vande Bharat, if you want to travel in Vande Bharat, you'll have to pay money for it. And if you don't pay money, you can be excluded. That's not a feature of a public good. So 2, 3, 4 are correct. Right option is option C. Question number 86. Consider the following statements with reference to capital formation in India. Gross fixed capital formation is the sum of total investment in public infrastructure. Right? How many of you think that gross fixed capital formation is the sum of total investment done by the government? Right? Don't you think whenever you talk about gross fixed capital formation, apart from the government, private sector should also invest? I hope you understand, right? Many of you say, sir, in no book these statements are given. They need not be given. You think of it. Gross fixed capital formation, whenever you talk about it, is it only the government or private sector is there? Private sector is there, but the private sector is not mentioned here. So first statement is wrong. First statement is wrong. Second, gross capital formation to GDP ratio has declined in the case of agriculture and industry between 14 and 15 and 2019 and 20. I will consider that second statement is difficult, not because it is conceptual, because it is factual. Simple, right? Not because it is conceptual, it is factual. And this statement is correct. The statement has been taken from a government document, right? So second statement is correct, first statement is wrong. Again, I am only saying second statement is factual, right? You are expected to read, let's say, budget documents, economic survey, right? Look at this kind of a data. So second statement is correct. The right option for the question will be option B here. Option B. Question number 96. Which of the following factors can be the major growth drivers for the white goods sector? Now, what do you mean by white goods? Generally, those goods which are colored white and are electronic goods. I hope you understand. Those goods which are white and the electronic goods are referred to as white goods. For example, right, let's say washing machine, right, or let's say ACs, refrigerator, right? These are referred to as these are referred to as white goods. So following of which will basically drive the demand for white goods. Rural electrification. I hope you understand. If the rural electrification increases, don't you think the demand for the white goods will increase? Yes, it will increase. Investment in infrastructure, let's say office development, manufacturing facilities are developed, housing facilities are developed. Will it lead to increased demand for white goods? Yes. Yes, by the way, it is yes. Right? Easy access to credit. If you can get easy loans, I can get easy loans. Will we purchase more and more white goods? Yes, right? That is also correct. If the disposable incomes will increase, that is how much money we can use to purchase goods and services will increase. Will it increase the demand for white goods? Yes. And digitalization. If the digitalization increases, right? Let's say, for example, online banking, or let's say e-commerce payments. Can you do it much more easily? Can you purchase these kind of products online now? Will it add to the demand in the market? Yes. Right. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Right. Right option is option A. Now there is one statement which says, right, sir, but I got a washing machine that is green colored or brown colored. My dear, please understand, when these originated in the beginning, there was no concept of different colors. Only one color used to be there. That is the reason these are called as white goods, right? Those goods, electronic goods, which are generally colored white, these are called as white goods. I know that ACs can be in different color, right? The refrigerator can be in a different color, but generally because the origin happened like that, these are collectively called as white goods. Okay. So question number 96, A is the right option. Question number 98, consider a situation where market determined rent for housing is too high for common people to afford, and the government comes forward to help those seeking apartments on rent by imposing control on rent as a measure of price ceiling. What impact might it have on the market for apartment? Let's start. 1. The demand for the houses on rent will increase. True or false? If the government simply says, beyond this, rent cannot be charged, right, on the tenant, will this increase the demand for the rental, right, units in the market? Of course, yes, it should increase. Is it okay? Of course, yes, it should increase. Increased availability of houses on rent. Now imagine you are the person, you had 2 units, right? Rather than living in 2 houses, you wanted to give one of the houses on rent. But government says beyond this, you cannot collect rent. So what will happen to the supply of the houses? Supply of the houses will not increase. The supply of the houses will rather decrease. So second one is wrong. It will not increase, rather decrease. Creation of black market for apartments. Again, if you know the events that have happened in the real market, all these are not very difficult. I'll give a very simple example. Imagine government will fix a price for fertilizer, right? Beyond this price, it is not allowed to be sold. Don't you think that has led to creation of black market? The government has created a price ceiling for various drugs or medicines. Hasn't that created a black market for these medicines or drugs? So the same thing is being asked here, right? Third one, creation of black markets for the apartments, right? Yes, it will create a black market. Sir, second statement, if the price is fixed, above this you are not allowed to charge, will you supply more or supply less? Simple question to you people. If the price ceiling is decided and you are not allowed to sell beyond this, will you increase the supply? No, you will not increase the supply. It's a basic supply and demand statement. So 1 and 3 are correct. Right option will be, right, option B, 2 statements only. Okay. Next, question number 4. We have entered into GDP discussion now. Since 2015, the government has adopted a new methodology to estimate gross domestic product. In this regard, consider the following statements. First one, it uses MCA 21 database to capture information on the organized private sector only. True or false? True or false? The statement is correct. I'm expecting answers from you. Nobody is answering. I will only answer then. The statement is correct, by the way. Why? Earlier, we used to collect the data from ASI, Annual Survey of Industries. And by the way, have a look at this. Earlier, we used to use the data from, right, the ASI. But from 2014 and 2015, no, we are not using ASI data to calculate GDP. Rather, we are using MCA 21 data. But, right, understand the next point here. The ASI data or MCA 21 data generally gives you the production data of only those companies which are registered. I hope you understand. Which are registered. What about those companies which are not registered? What about those, right, service suppliers who are not registered? Informal economy, unorganized economy, right? There is a separate survey which is conducted. I hope you understand. There are different surveys which are conducted in order to address the issue of informal economy data collection. But MCA 21 database will only collect from organized sectors. So first statement is correct. Second one is wrong already. Why? Rather than ASI, we started using MCA 21. Okay. The base year of national accounts was revised from 0405 to 14 and 15. Statement 3 is wrong. Why? It was not revised from the 4 and 5 to 14 and 15. It was revised to 11 and 12. That is 2011 and 2012. Even today, that is the base year. Right? Okay. So third statement is wrong. Fourth, the gross value added. The gross value added at basic prices was replaced by the GDP at factor cost. In fact, we have introduced the concept of GV at basic prices. Right? GDP at factor cost is not there today. GDP at market prices is there. Is it okay? I'll repeat it. GDP at market prices is there. Right? We do not have a GDP at factor cost. And we have introduced a GV at basic prices. Fourth statement is wrong. So one statement is correct. Right option will be option A, only one of the above. Okay. Question number 8. Okay. Question number 8. Consider the following statements with reference to implicit price deflator. Right? Implicit price deflator. What is this implicit price deflator? This is called as a GDP deflator. Simple. It is nothing but a GDP deflator. A GDP deflator is basically a ratio. It's a ratio of nominal GDP divided by real GDP. Simple. It's a ratio of nominal GDP divided by real GDP. And please understand, whenever you talk about either nominal GDP or real GDP, you're not considering a basket of goods and services. You are basically considering, right, all the goods and services which are manufactured in a country. Because please understand, GDP means what? Market price of all the goods and services which are produced in a territory. So we are not considering a basket. Rather, we are considering all the goods and services. First statement. It measures the average change in the prices for a limited basket of goods and services produced in a country. Limited basket of goods and services? No. All goods and services. Okay, second, it is considered to be the most accurate indicator of inflation. Statement 2 is correct. It is considered to be the most accurate indicator of inflation. Why? If we talk about CPI, how many goods, right? What does a basket consist of? CPI consists of 299 articles. What about WPI? WPI consists of 697 commodities. Right? But when you talk about, let's say, GDP deflator, is there a basket for this? Is there a limited number of goods and services? No. Whatever is the final goods and services which are produced in the country will be counted. So don't you think, right, because all the goods and services are counted, the GDP deflator gives a better information regarding what is the rise in the price level compared to CPI or WPI. Hence, the second statement is correct. You need to find out. You need to find out how many of these statements are correct or which of the statements are correct. Right option will be option B for the statement or question here. Okay, question number 20. Consider the following statements with reference to trade to gross domestic product ratio recently seen in news. A fall in imports is likely to increase the trade to GDP ratio. First and foremost, what is the meaning of the trade here? Trade means imports plus exports. Trade simply means imports plus exports. That's called as a trade. Now, have a look at this. A fall in the imports is likely to increase the trade to GDP ratio. No. If the imports will fall down, the trade will fall down. And when the trade will fall down, what will happen to the trade to GDP ratio? Right? It will also fall down, not increase. So first statement is wrong. A high trade to GDP ratio indicates openness of the economy. Statement is correct. Why? If your imports are high, exports are high, what does it indicate? You do lot of trade. You have lot of trade relations with the rest of the world. You have lot of trade relations with the rest of the world. And that is possible when the economy is open economy. If you have a closed economy, trade relations do not exist. Only in open economies such as India, there is a trade relations with the rest of the world. And whenever there is a high trade to GDP ratio, yes, it indicates openness in the economy. Statement 2 is correct. Services are not considered while calculating trade to GDP ratio. No. In fact, when I talk about imports and exports, we consider both goods as well as services. So third one is wrong. I need to find out, right, how many of these statements are correct. Right option will be option A, only one is correct. Okay, right option is option A, only one is correct. Okay, question number 33. Consider the following statements with reference to net domestic product, NDP, net domestic product. Right? Sir, in India, GDP is measured in CPI or WPI? My dear, no. Right? In India, GDP is measured based on the market prices of final goods and services. CPI, WPI are the measures of inflation, and GDP deflator is a measure of inflation. Okay. Right? What is this NDP in the first place? Net domestic product. In simple terms, out of all the final goods and services which are produced, I'm trying to account for the expenses for the depreciation. That is how much of the capital assets have been replaced. That is called as depreciation. Right? So when I deduct the depreciation value from GDP, what I get is NDP. It is the best available tool to compare two different economies of the world. Right? Obviously, you already know this statement. It is wrong, by the way. This should not be very difficult. Sir, why? How do I know this? You tell me. If this was the best tool, why are we comparing India with, let's say, USA in terms of GDP? Why India versus China in terms of GDP? Why not NDP then? Right? So I hope I understand this. So one is wrong. You can use elimination methodology anyways. It gives an idea of how much a country has to spend to maintain the current GDP measure. Statement 2 is correct. Let me explain. Right? Imagine you have produced 100 rupees worth of goods and services. Out of this 100 rupee worth of goods and services, let's say 10 rupee worth of goods are nothing but machines. Now, simple question to you people. Don't you think some of these machines will be used to replace earlier machines? I hope you understand. Some of these machines will be used to replace earlier machines. Some are addition, some are used to replace earlier machines. So what is this idea of a depreciation? The amount that is used to replace machines, to replace old machines, how much, right, capital you will have to spend, how much money you will have to spend. That is the basic idea. Now, if I don't spend that amount of capital, I hope you understand this. Right? The formula, by the way, is nothing but NDP, net domestic product, is equal to GDP minus depreciation. Right? GDP minus depreciation. A simple question to you people. If I don't spend sufficient amount of money here, will I be able to maintain the same level of GDP? I hope you understand this. If I don't spend sufficient amount of money to replace the existing capital, will I be able to maintain the same level of GDP? Answer is no. Right? The machines are older. I need to replace. That is depreciation. So look at this. Right? NDP gives an idea of how much money the country has to spend in order to maintain the same level of, right, the GDP. Because please understand this, if I don't spend this much amount of money, what will happen? Productivity will come down. Right? The productivity will come down, GDP automatically will come down. Okay? So second statement is correct. Trade balance is included in it by default, yes. Right? So how trade balance is included? Right? Don't you think in the calculation of GDP there is already a trade balance? Right? What do you mean by trade balance? I hope you remember GDP is equal to expenses, that is capital expenses are done by the companies, right? The consumption expenses are done by all of us, households, expenses done by the government, then X minus M, exports and imports, that is a trade balance for you, right? So is it not already included in the GDP calculation? Yes, it is included. Trade balance is included. So 1 is wrong, 2 and 3 are correct. Right option for the question will be option D here. Okay, right option is option D. Let me go to the next one. Question number 34. Right? What do you mean by depreciation? Depreciation simply refers to the amount of capital, amount of money that I need to spend to replace existing capital. Because there are certain machineries which are old, which are worn out. I need to replace those machineries. Right? That is the expense incurred, which is called as depreciation. Consider the following statements with reference to per capita income recently in the news. What is per capita income? Simple. Per capita income is equal to national income, that is total income generated in a country divided by population of the country. Okay, population of the country. Let's start. Non-earning individuals are excluded while calculating the per capita income. Do you think this is correct? Whether the person earns or doesn't earn doesn't matter. The population means everybody is there. So first statement wrong. First statement is wrong. It gives a clear picture of income disparity in the population, right? No. If the per capita income of India is, let's say, 1.2 lakh rupees, how does it give a picture about disparity? No, it doesn't give a clear picture. It does not include individual savings. It doesn't include individual savings. Yes, there is no discussion about the savings. We are only counting incomes here. No savings are included. It does not even consider the concept of savings here. It gives a clear picture of the nature of goods and services produced in the economy. No, we are simply counting GDP. What kind of goods and services are produced? There is no way to know that. Right, so right option is only one statement, that is option A. One statement, that is option A. Okay, right, question number 49 now. Question number 49. Consider the following statements with reference to gross value added, GVA. Consumption of fixed capital is included in the GVA. Is it true? Let me know. Right, is the consumption of a fixed capital, is it included in the GVA? Right, yes, it is included. Why? When I calculate GVA, I do not basically take into consideration depreciation. I'll count it later. I will deduct it later. Deduction is done later when I shift to NDP. And whatever is the consumption of the fixed capital, by default it is counted as a part of the goods and services which are produced in the country. Okay, right, so first statement is correct. First statement is correct. Okay, GVA at basic prices excludes production taxes. GVA at basic prices excludes production taxes. No, it includes production taxes. That is basically the formula is GVA at factor cost, right? GVA at factor cost, right, plus production taxes minus production subsidies, you will get GVA at basic prices. So GVA at basic prices excludes. No, this is wrong. You can use the elimination methodology here. Adding net product taxes with the GVA at basic prices will give you gross domestic product. And again, this is a factual question. If you know the formula, straightforward, you know the answer. Otherwise, you will keep on struggling. Once you arrive at a GVA at basic prices, you will basically add product taxes and subtract product subsidies. You will subtract product subsidies to get, right, the GDP at market prices. So 1 and 3 are correct. Right option is option D, 1 and 3. Okay, right. So this is question number 49. Question number 59. How statement 1 is right? My dear, when you calculate GVA, right, you're considering the factor cost of all the goods and services. All goods and services produced in the country. Simple question to you people. Some of the goods are produced to replace existing goods. Are you removing them or are you counting them? I hope you understand. When you count the GVA, you are basically counting all the goods and services which are produced. But some of the goods are to replace existing goods. Are you excluding them or are you including them? You are including them. You are simply counting it as part of this. Statement 3, subsidies are not mentioned whenever they use the term net product taxes. There is a specific term, net product taxes. Net product taxes is this. Product taxes minus product subsidies is called as net product taxes. Question number 59. Consider the following statements regarding factors of production. The capital represents that part of the production in the current financial year which is not consumed. Correct or wrong? It's basically an analytical statement. If you know, right, you know it. Idea is simple. You have consumer goods, you have capital goods. Is it okay? You have consumer goods, you have capital goods. Now both are part of the final goods only. Consumer goods are consumed. Consumed means you are using the services, you will finish it. What about capital goods? Are you going to consume the capital goods? No, you will use the capital goods, right, for many years. I hope you understand. You will use the capital goods for many years. So the capital represents that part of the production in the current financial year which is not consumed. It is not a consumer good in simple terms, right? Statement 1 is correct. All the factors of production are only tangible in nature. Tangible means which have physical characteristic. Is it okay? Right? Which can be touched, which can be defined in terms of length, right? Height, weight, etc. Do you think all the factors of production are tangible in nature? For example, labor services. Right? Labor services are intangible in nature. Second one is wrong. You need to find out which are correct. Right option is option A, one only. Question number 61. Consider the following statements. Increased government spending, increasing the transfer payments, increasing the tax rate. Which of the policies are examples of pro-cyclical fiscal policies during recession? What do you mean by pro-cyclical? The policies which are taken to increase the situation in the economy. Any policy which will increase the situation in the economy. For example, if there is a recession, which policy of the government will increase the recession? That is called as a pro-cyclical policy. Increased government spending during recession is counter-cyclical. Increased transfer payments are counter-cyclical. Increasing the tax rate is pro-cyclical. Right? Because if you increase the tax rate, people will have lesser amount of money. They will spend less, right? That will further reduce the demand. Basically, it will further lead to recession. So third, right, is the right option. Option C is the right one here. Okay, option C. Question number 64. Consider the following pairs. Types of economic recoveries. U-shaped economic recovery. Imagine this is, right, the trend. Whenever you say U-shaped, economy will contract and start running parallel to the earlier line. Meaning what? The growth, there is a contraction in the economy, and right, it will start running parallel. It will take very long time period. Right? There is a lower growth in the economy. Economy bounces more than the pre-crisis level before calming down. No, this is exactly Z-shaped recovery. Z-shape is like this. Imagine this is how the economy is supposed to happen. There is a contraction. Suddenly the economy bounces back, and again there is a cooling of the market, calming of the market. Z-shaped recovery. So U-shaped recovery, stagnation for a significant period of time after the recession, or let's say contraction, before gradual rise to the previous peak. I told you there is a sudden contraction. Very slowly the recovery will happen. That is U-shape. So first pair is wrong. Fourth pair is wrong. K-shaped recovery. Imagine this is the economy, right? Some of the sectors will experience good growth. Some of the sectors will experience very bad growth, recession, right? So basically that is a K-shaped recovery. Different parts of the economy recover at different rates. Correct. L-shaped recovery, marked by an extended downturn. That is basically the market will go down like this. Market will go down, and the downturn will be there for a very longer duration. So L-shaped recovery pairing is correct. Right? K-shaped recovery pairing is correct. So 2 and 3 are correct. Right option will be option B here. Right? Right option is option B. Done. Right option is option B. So let me go to the next one. Question number 90. Consider the following statements with reference to green GDP. What is this green GDP? Whenever there is a production of goods and services, certain pollution will take place. And when there is a pollution, obviously what will happen is there is a destruction of environment. You will consume a lot of mineral resources, etc. You will account for all of it. That is called as a green GDP. From GDP, you will start accounting for all of it. Right? If green GDP is more than the conventional GDP, then the economic growth of the country is not eco-friendly. Exactly opposite. If green GDP is more than the conventional GDP, meaning if the GDP is here and from this we will deduct a certain, let's say, pollution cost, etc., then we will get green GDP. Do you think green GDP will be greater than this GDP? No, right? So basically what will happen is green GDP is lesser than the traditional GDP. So one is wrong. The green GDP concept was first proposed in 93 by United Nations. Factual statement. Second statement is correct. Second statement is correct. So right option for the question will be option B. I'm sorry, because I need to find out which is incorrect. Right option will be option A, one only. Okay. Question number 94. Consider the following statements. Inflation and GDP present a positive correlation in the short run. This is generally found to be true. Why? Sir, why? Inflation means market prices of the goods and services will go up. And when the market price of goods and services go up, what will happen to GDP? GDP should also go up. But this is generally found in a short run. In the long run, no, this will not happen. Why? In the long run, what will happen is, generally you will see that with the rise in the inflation rate, in the long run, the demand will fall down, the GDP will also take an effect. So first statement is correct. Excess of nominal GDP over real GDP may result in high tax revenue, right, growth. Of course, yes. Right, nominal GDP is based on the current market prices. If the nominal GDP is higher, means current market prices of the goods and services are higher. If the current market prices are higher, what do you think will happen to tax revenue collection? The tax revenue collection will also be higher, right? So 1 and 2 are correct. Right option will be option C, both 1 and 2. Question number 6. Which one of the following correctly explains what is Tobin tax? Right, understand this. Tobin tax generally is associated with currency flows. Whenever the investors will keep on moving from one country to another country, they'll keep on creating volatility. That is, they will sell the currencies, convert them into dollar, then enter into another country, sell dollar there, convert into this currency. So there is a lot of volatility created. In order to prevent this kind of a volatility in the market, a tax has been proposed that is called as a Tobin tax. Right, so it's a straightforward statement. Option A is correct. It is a tax that is levied on the spot conversion of the currency. Right, so that is the right option here. Question number 6, right option is A. Question number 10. Which of the following is or are likely to result in an increase in the GST collections in India? Higher inflation. If the inflation rate is high, market prices are high. If the market prices are high, what do you think will happen to the GST collection? GST collection should be higher. In fact, this has been one of the reasons why in recent times GST collections are higher. Remember this. An increase in the consumption. If people start to consume more and more goods and services, right, obviously GST collection will increase. Government taking steps to ensure tax compliance. For example, e-way bill has been introduced. E-invoicing has been introduced. They are basically investigating many of these companies. What is the meaning of it? If the tax compliance increases, automatically GST collection will increase. A surge in the imports. If the imports will increase into the market, imports attract GST, by the way. So there is a higher import, higher GST collection. So all are correct. Right option is option D here. Right, all of them are correct. Question number 23. Proportional tax. Uniform rate of tax irrespective of the size of the tax base. That is, whatever is your income, same rate of tax is applicable. Right, that is called as a proportional tax. One pairing is correct. Progressive tax. Tax rate increases with an increase in the size of the tax base. Best example, income tax rates in India. Higher the income you earn, higher will be the rate of income tax. Pair 2 is correct. Third one, regressive tax. Tax rate decreases with a decrease in the size of the tax base. Exactly opposite. Third one is not correct. 1 and 2 are correct. 2 pairs are correctly matched. Right option for the question number 23 will be option B. Only 2 pairs are correct. Okay. Now question number 24. Which one of the following is correct under inverted duty structure? IDS recently seen in the news. Inverted duty structure simply means, imagine you will purchase plastic. Follow this carefully. You will purchase plastic, you will pay GST. You will manufacture pen, you will sell it, again you will collect GST. Inverted duty structure simply means here, when you purchase imports, you are paying a higher rate of GST compared to the GST rate on output. In simple terms, imagine, right? Imagine you have purchased something, tax rate is let's say 15%. You will sell something, tax rate is let's say 10%. If this situation exists in the economy, this is called as inverted duty structure. And this has been there in the newspaper. Government of India has been taking various steps. For example, in slippers, there was an inverted duty structure. In various sectors, there is a problem of inverted duty structure. So A, the rate of tax on the input is higher than the rate of tax on the outward supply is the right one here. Okay, right option is option A for question number 24. Now question number 27. Tax buoyancy of a country was found to be 2. Which one of the following best describes the situation mentioned above? Let's start. What is the tax buoyancy? Percentage change in the amount of taxes you have collected divided by percentage change in the GDP. Simple. This is a formula. Right? It is the percentage change in the tax revenue collected divided by percentage change in the GDP. And when you have a tax buoyancy of 2, what does it mean? The tax revenue collection has increased by 2% divided by the GDP has changed by 1%. Is it okay? Is it okay? Right? I'm just using the same formula. What is the tax buoyancy? It is the percentage change in the tax revenue collected divided by percentage change in the GDP. And if I say tax buoyancy of a country is 2, what does it mean? The tax revenues have increased by 2% divided by GDP changing by 1%. Look at the option here. The growth rate of gross tax revenues is double that of growth rate in the GDP. Is it okay? Right. So option C is the right one. Option C is the right one. Because if you talk about option A, they are talking about tax revenues is twice GDP. No, tax buoyancy is always a percentage change in the tax divided by percentage change in the GDP. Right. So right option is option C here. Okay. Right option is option C for question number 27. Question number 29. Consider the following statements: statutory incidence and economic incidence. Right? What is a statutory incidence and economic incidence? Let me explain. Government has imposed GST on a company. I hope you understand this. I'll repeat the statement. Right? Government will impose a GST on a company. So where is the first point of application of a tax? That is called as statutory incidence. Is it okay? I'll repeat it. Right? Wherever the wherever the tax is applied, first point of application, that is called as statutory incidence. But answer to my question here, if the GST rate is applicable on the company, do you think the company will pay the taxes or you and me will pay the taxes? I hope you understand. Will the company pay the taxes or you and me will pay the taxes? Final burden of taxation always falls on the customer. Is it okay? Final burden will always fall on the customer. Right? Remember that. So economic incidence means final burden. Statutory incidence means first application, first point of application of a tax. So statutory incidence of sales tax lies on consumer, correct? Right? Sales tax is applied on consumer or sales tax is applied on the company. It is applied on the company. First one is wrong. Right? The economic incidence of income tax is on the income recipient. That is the one who earns income. Income tax is applied or income tax will be falling on the income earner or somebody else? It will be falling on the income earner only. Second one is correct. The difference between the statutory incidence and the economic incidence is called as tax shifting. It's a definition. What do you mean by tax shifting? I'll give a very simple example. Government will impose 5% GST on a restaurant. This is statutory incidence. But you think the restaurant will pay that 5% from their pocket? No. You will go to the restaurant to have dinner. This restaurant will transfer this 5% to you. This is called as right, a tax shifting. This is referred to as tax shifting, right? So third one is correct, right? 2 and 3 are correct. Right option for the question is option B here. Option B is the right one. Question number 43. Which one of the following statements with reference to tax expenditure is correct? It's a straightforward statement, right? I have to understand this. It's a straightforward statement. What do you mean by tax expenditure? Whenever government, because of, let's say, certain remissions, certain exemptions, etc., will lose a certain amount of tax revenue, that tax revenue is called as tax expenditure. Is it okay? Right? Whenever government of India will forego certain amount of tax revenue, lose a certain amount of tax revenue. Why? Because government is giving exemptions, because government is giving certain, right, let's say remissions, etc. That tax revenue is called as a tax expenditure. Any example of this? I'll give a very simple example. Startup India. Startup India scheme. Under Startup India scheme, for 3 years, a company, a startup, can enjoy 100% tax exemption. What is the meaning of it? Corporate tax rate in case of India right now is how much? 22%. If you are a startup, for 3 years, you can simply say, I will not pay any tax to government. Corporate tax, by the way. What does it mean? If you have earned a profit of 100 crore, you are saying because you are a startup, you will pay 0 rupees to the government. But how much money should the government have collected? Government should have collected 22 crore rupees. So can I call this 22 crore rupees as a tax revenue foregone because of the tax exemption provided by the government? And this is nothing but tax expenditure. This is nothing but tax expenditure. So look at the statement here. Look at the statement. It is the revenue loss incurred by the government from deductions, deferrals, preferential tax rates, etc. Right? That is basically, right, the tax expenditure. Okay? That is basically tax expenditure. Okay? Question number 43. The right option is right option is C. I can understand that increase in transfer payments come under counter-cyclical measure during recession, but please explain how. My dear, if you get transfer payments from the government, will you not increase expenditure? And when expenditure increases, will it not promote recovery in the economy? That is the reason I said it is counter-cyclical. Consider the following statements regarding Goods and Service Tax Council, GST Council. It was constituted by the President of India. Yes, under Article 279. Under Article 279, yes. Its decisions are binding on both the union and state government. This is, understand this. This is basically from current affairs. Why? Supreme Court of India. Supreme Court of India says, no, these are not binding. Now I hope you understand why the question has been picked up. The decisions in the GST Council are taken by a simple majority. No, a decision in the GST Council is always taken with at least a 75% majority. With at least 75% majority, right? Not simple majority, 75% majority. And in fact, simple majority generally is 50%, more than 50%, that is 50% plus 1. So no, 75%. Third one is wrong. The vote share of the states in the council are proportional to their population. Again, no, it is wrong. Why? the vote share, right, in the GST Council, the vote share for all the states is equal. Every state which is represented in the GST Council has around 2.1% voting share, irrespective of size, irrespective of the population, irrespective of A, B, C, right? It is same. Okay, right? So first statement is correct. Right option for the question will be option A. Only one statement is correct. Any doubts here? Any doubts? Right? Next one. Consider the following statements with reference to online gaming. Again, in the current affairs, right? Even today in the newspaper, it was there. A panel headed by Conrad Sangma is set up to evaluate the services offered by online gaming portals for levying GST. It's a factual statement. It is correct. GST Council, under the GST Council, we have set up a group of ministers. This group of ministers is headed by Mr. Conrad Sangma, and this committee is, or this group of ministers is supposed to find out and recommend what should be the GST rate applicable on games, online games, by the way. Because right now, the skilled games attract a GST rate of 18%, and the games of chance attract a GST rate of 28%. In fact, if you have read the newspaper today, right, Hindu, it was not there, other newspapers it was there. The committee has recommended that whether it is a game of skill or game of a chance, we should have a GST rate of 28% only. In fact, that is there in today's newspaper. Have a look at it. But first statement is correct. All online games are taxed at 28% GST. It is wrong. Just now I've told you. Games of a chance 28, games of skill 18%. You need to find out which is correct. Right option is option A, one only. Okay, one only. Question number 54. The term two-pillar solution recently seen in the news is related to which one of the following? I'll give you the current affairs concept here. There is a concept called as global minimum corporate tax. Global minimum corporate tax. Under the global minimum corporate tax, there is a two-pillar solution, right? Pillar 1 and pillar 2. Pillar 1 and pillar 2, and in fact India is a signatory to this. I hope you understand. India is a signatory to this. Under pillar 1, what it says is these multinational enterprises will earn lot of profits in some countries, but they do not provide any taxes. They don't pay any taxes in these countries. So some of the profits will be taxed in a country where the sales have been generated. I'll repeat the statement. Right, pillar 1, under this it says, right, the companies, that is the multinational corporations, when they generate profit in certain territory in a country, part of the profits will be taxed and collected in the same country. That is pillar 1. And pillar 2 says the global minimum corporate tax rate should be at least 15%. Global minimum corporate tax rate should be at least 15%, right? These are the two pillars. So for question number 54, right option will be option D, right? That is GMCT. Okay. Is it the concept of BEPS? Of course, yes. It is related to BEPS itself, right? Related to base erosion and profit shifting. Which one of the following is correct with reference to windfall tax recently seen in the news? I'll explain the idea here. Imagine here is a company in India. It will purchase oil from Russia. This is important. They will purchase oil from Russia. And why they are purchasing oil from Russia? Because it is cheaper. I hope you are reading the newspapers. Russia has become the major supplier of oil to India. Russia has become a major supplier, right, of fertilizer to India now. So because Russia is unable to sell the oil to Western countries because they have imposed sanctions, Russia is selling this particular oil at a cheaper rate to India now. And what the companies are doing is they are purchasing oil at a cheaper rate from Russia, and because the price of oil in the international market is higher. I hope you understand this. Because the price of oil in the international market is higher, they are purchasing the oil at cheaper rate, exporting the oil at higher rate. Is it okay? they are able to export the oil to the international market at a higher rate, thereby earning huge profit. Now, against this practice, Government of India has imposed a tax which is called as a windfall tax, right? And what is this? Whatever I've explained, what is this called as? It is a tax on profit that a company derives from an external event, right? Windfall tax basically is a tax which is imposed on the profits that the companies are earning because of certain external events. That is called as a windfall tax. Any doubts? Let me know. That is referred to as windfall tax. And on Indian oil companies, many of these Indian oil companies, Government of India has actually imposed a windfall tax. Okay. Question number 69. Which one of the following statements is correct with reference to advanced pricing agreement? Advanced pricing agreement. Let me start with a simple example. Imagine I want to purchase certain goods from another company. That company is a related company. You'll ask me, sir, what do you mean by related company here? What if the owners of both the company is same? I hope you understand this. What if the owners of both the company are same? Right? Will it not become a related company? Right? I'm trying to purchase a good from somebody else. That company is owned by the same company, right? Who owns my company as well. But the problem here is whenever there is a related party transaction like this, whenever there is a transaction between related companies, these transactions can be done to avoid taxes. Is it okay? I'll repeat the statement here. These kind of transactions can be done in order to avoid taxes. They can do that. Sir, how is that possible? Imagine the other company is set up in Mauritius, where the tax rate is, let's say, 5%. In India, the tax rate is 22%. So obviously, I want to transfer my profits from India to Mauritius, where the tax rates are very low. So in order to avoid paying higher taxes in India, I will try to engage with my other company, purchase goods, pay huge amount of money so that profits will get transferred into Mauritius. So in order to address this, in order to avoid all of this, there is a practice called as advanced pricing agreement. And what happens in advanced pricing agreement? If I want to purchase this product, even before I purchase, I will get the approval from the tax authority. I will go to the tax authority, submit the proposal, and the tax authority says, if you purchase it, tax rate applicable will be this much. Right? So there is no confusion. What is the tax rate applicable on all of this? There is a clarity. There is no future disputes on the transaction. Right? This process that I explained to you just now, it is called as advanced pricing agreement. It is referred to as advanced pricing agreement. So look at the statement here. It is a mechanism, right? It is an agreement among members. Just a second. Okay, option A. It involves determining the tax liabilities in advance to avoid any tax disputes. Is it clear? Is it clear? Any issue, let me know. Is it clear? Basically, I will go to the tax authority. Before even I purchase, I will get clarity from the tax authority, right? So that in future, there is no dispute between me as well as the taxation authority. This methodology is called as advanced pricing agreement. Okay. Question number 70. Consider the following statements with reference to goods and services tax compensation cess. No compensation cess is levied on imported goods. Let me ask you a simple question. Do you think this is correct? Does it make sense? Let me know. Does it make a sense? It should not make sense to you. I'll tell you why. What if you're going to import a luxury car? What if you're going to import a luxury car? Don't you think a luxury car should attract one, very high rate of GST, and second, cess should also be imposed on it, right? So understand this. No compensation cess is levied on imported goods. This statement is wrong. This statement is wrong, right? It is not correct. all exports will attract a compensation cess. Extreme statement. I understand, extreme statement. Do you think this should be correct? All exports will attract a compensation cess. You are exporting, let's say, textile. Should it attract export cess? Answer is no. And again, this is a trick. Avoid extreme statements. Avoid in the sense, right? Generally, when extreme statements are given, most of the times it will be wrong. Okay, right? So all exports will attract compensation cess, wrong. Input tax credit of compensation cess can be used to pay both CGST and SGST. This is also wrong. What do you mean by this? If you have, let's say, input tax credit, if you have input tax credit, that is basically means whatever taxes you have paid in the previous step, you can get it in the next step. That is the basic idea of an input tax credit. Right, so input tax credit for compensation cess can be used to pay for both the CGST and SGST. No, which means imagine you're supposed to receive 100 rupees in the form of input tax credit, right, from the government because of compensation cess. Can you use that 100 rupee to pay CGST to the government or SGST to the government? Answer is no, it will not be allowed. It will not be allowed. You can use the compensation cess, the input tax credit, only to pay for, right, the input, only to pay for compensation cess in the output product. Okay, right? So third one is wrong. Which of the above statements are correct? None of the statements is the right option. Option D is the right one. What is compensation cess? When GST was implemented, some of the states were concerned that they will not be able to get sufficient amount of GST revenues. Simple. States were concerned that I will incur losses in collection of taxes. In order to address this issue, Government of India, for a period of 5 years, starting 2017, that is 1st July 2017, right, basically Government of India said, till the next 5 years, I will provide you compensation cess. Meaning, if you are not able to collect a certain amount of tax revenues, I will compensate you. I will pay tax revenues to you. Right? That was the basic idea. That was a basic idea of a compensation cess. Okay. Right. So all the three statements are wrong. Right option will be right. The D option, none of the statement. What is the meaning of the third one? Imagine you have purchased a raw material. You will pay taxes. Agreed? GST. When you have to, right, basically sell, you will collect the taxes, you will give it to government. This you will get it back. Agreed? This you will get it back. That is called as input tax credit. Now, can you use this input tax credit to pay CGST? If you owe any CGST government, yes. Can you use this input tax credit to pay SGST if you owe any SGST to the government? Answer is yes. In a normal GST, that will work. But when this input tax credit is of compensation cess, right? Imagine you are purchasing a product. On this compensation cess is applicable. Can you use that cess, right, to pay CGST and SGST, right, to the government? It is not allowed, right? This kind of a treatment will not be allowed. Question number 71. Consider the following statements. A cess is a form of tax levied by the government. Straightforward statement. Okay, cess is a tax. Agreed. Second, if the cess is collected in a particular year, goes unspent, it can be allocated for other purposes. Can it be? Can we use the cess collection for other purposes? No, it is not allowed. Why? Please understand this. Whenever you want to introduce a cess, you have to pass a bill. And in the bill, you tell what is the reason why you are implementing cess, for what purpose you will be using the cess. Everything is written. And if you are unable to utilize the cess for the same purpose, you cannot use it for any other purpose. It cannot be done. Second one is wrong. Third, the center need not share the cess with the states. It's a factual information. Yes, there is no compulsion on the center to share these particular cess revenues with the states. 1 and 3 are correct. I need to find out which of the statements are correct. Option D is right? The right option. Question number 72. Consider the following statements with reference to alternate minimum tax. AMT. Alternate minimum tax. I'm pretty sure all of you heard of MAT. Yes or no? Let me know. Right? I'm pretty sure all of you heard of MAT. What is this MAT? Minimum alternate tax. Minimum alternate tax. And minimum alternate tax is applicable on companies. It is applicable on companies. But what about individuals? What about individuals? What about cooperative societies? Is MAT applicable to cooperative societies? No. Whenever you talk about right, the individuals, cooperative societies, etc., it is not MAT which is applicable. It is AMT, alternate minimum tax. AMT, remember this, it is alternate minimum tax. And again, in context of individuals, many of you will simply say, right, sir, but I don't pay AMT. Please understand, my dear, even individual taxpayers, not everybody will come under the coverage of AMT. What generally happens is, there are certain sections under the Income Tax Act. I hope you understand. There are certain sections under the Income Tax Act, and if you are going to use those sections while filing the returns, only then you will be covered under the AMT. For example, there is section 10A, 35, section 35 of IT Act, section 80 of IT Act. So whenever you use, right, those sections, only then you will be covered under the AMT. But the concept is simple here. Either you talk about AMT or MAT. Why it is imposed? It is a tax which is imposed because, right, these entities are using certain deductions, incentives, etc. They are earning income, but they are not paying the right amount of taxes. It is a tax levied on entities which do not pay any tax on account of concessions and incentives. First statement is correct. Second, it is applicable to non-corporate taxpayers only. Statement 2 is correct. It is not applicable to corporates. It is applicable to, right, the non-corporates. Third, cooperative societies are exempt from paying AMT. No, just now I told you, individual cooperative societies, all of them are covered under AMT. 1 and 2 are correct. Right option, because I need to find out which statements are correct. Right option is option A. Okay. Okay. Consider the following statements with regard to countervailing duty. Right. Countervailing duties generally is a type of additional duties whenever imports are very cheaper. Understand this carefully. Whenever imports are cheaper compared to the domestically manufactured goods, and it is affecting the domestic market, and the reason why imports are cheaper is because the exporting government is giving a subsidy. That is, let's take a simple example here. Imagine, I have to understand this. Imagine this, right? You are manufacturing this pen, you are in India, and government of India will give you subsidy. As a result of the subsidy, the product is cheaper. You will be able to export more and more to USA. And when you will export this more and more to USA, obviously the domestic manufacturers in USA will be affected. So what the government of USA will do? To counteract, to negate the subsidy benefit that you are getting, government of USA will impose countervailing duty. Okay. Right. So first statement, it offsets a domestic subsidies for exporting countries. First statement is correct. It is considered a tariff barrier by the World Trade Organization, right? No, it is not considered as a barrier. In fact, I repeat, in fact, under this particular concept of a GATT, right, countervailing duties are allowed. Okay. It provides for fair competition between domestic and imported goods. Of course, yes. When USA government will impose a tax on your pen, don't you think the market price of the pen in USA will automatically increase? Domestic companies will be able to compete. So third one is correct. Only 2 statements are correct. Right option is option B. Right option is option B. Okay. Right. So this is question number 73. Question number 72, statement 1, entities including personals and companies both so should be wrong. It is a tax levied on entities which do not pay. Again, when I say individuals here, these are individual companies, single person companies, etc. like this. Okay. Okay. Question number 77. Consider the following statements. The treasury bills will attract a long-term capital gains tax. What do you think? Do you think treasury bills will attract long-term capital gains tax? It should not be attracting. Why? It's there. It's pretty much evident in the statement itself. Treasury bills are short-term instruments. These are short-term instruments up to 1 year, right? 91 days, 182 days, 364 days. How can you apply long-term capital gains on those instruments which have shorter maturity? First one is wrong. In the case of the tax burden, ad valorem taxes are progressive and the specific taxes are regressive, right? What do you think? Right? This is a very, very tricky statement, right? Ad valorem taxes are progressive and the specific taxes are regressive. Statement 2 is correct. Statement 2 is correct. Let me explain. Ad valorem tax simply means what? Imagine, right? Imagine a product is being sold at 100 rupee. On this, I will impose a 10% tax. Based on the price of the product, whenever I impose a tax, this is called as ad valorem tax. Now, simple question to you people. When the price of the product increases, what will happen to the tax on the product? Don't worry about the percentage. What will happen to the tax, right, on the product? Will the tax increase or not? Will the tax increase or not? Of course, yes. So the tax base is increasing. Tax imposed and collected is also increasing. Is it not progressive? Let me know. Tax base is increasing. Tax imposed and collected is also increasing. Is it not progressive? Yes, it is progressive. Right? So understand this. In terms of impact of ad valorem tax, it's a progressive. It's a type of a progressive tax. What about specific duties? And what about specific duties? Let's say hypothetically, specific duties, I'll give a simple example. Right? You purchase a liter of petrol, let's say at 100 rupee. The tax is, let's say, 6 rupees. Now understand this. Whether you purchase, right, 100 rupees, right, or whether you purchase 1 liter at 100 rupee, 120 rupees, 130 rupees, you will keep on paying the same amount of the tax. I hope you understand this. At 100 rupee, you will pay 6 rupees. At 120 rupees, what will be the specific duty here? 6 rupees. At 150 rupees per liter, what will be the tax paid? 6 rupees. Because please understand, specific duties or specific taxes are basically per unit taxes. These are per unit taxes, that is per liter, 6 rupees fixed. Now for liter of petrol, the price could be 80, price could be 100, price could be 120, price could be 130 as well. So despite the tax base increasing, the amount of tax collected is not changing. I understand, right? This is nothing but regressive. I understand this. This is nothing but regressive, right? So understand this. Specific taxes are regressive in nature. Ad valorem taxes are progressive in nature, right? The second statement is correct. Right option for the question number 77 will be right option B. Okay. Question number 99. Consider the following statements with reference to GST composition scheme. Let me explain composition scheme first here. What is this idea of a composition scheme? Imagine you are a very small company, small manufacturer. Now, if you are covered under GST, what you need to do is you will have to keep on filing the GST returns on monthly basis. Monthly, you will have to keep on filing the GST returns. That is GST documents you will have to keep on filing. Now, simple question to you people, because you are a very small company, don't you think monthly filing of the GST will increase your burden? Let me know. Let me know. Because you are a very small company, right? Will the GST return filing on monthly basis, will it not increase the burden for you? will it not increase the cost of conducting business for you? In order to address this only, government has introduced the concept of GST composition scheme. Under the GST composition scheme, what government says is, understand this, under the GST composition scheme, government says, you don't have to keep on filing GST monthly like this. We will apply a uniform rate. Whatever is your revenue, we will apply a uniform rate and you simply pay that particular amount in the form of tax. And this you'll have to do once in 3 months. Now, what is the advantage of this? Do you need to keep account for monthly basis or quarterly basis? I hope you understand this. Do you need to keep an account on monthly basis or quarterly basis? You will have to file the returns, that is a document, on monthly basis or quarterly basis? Quarterly basis. First question, will it not promote ease of doing business? Yes. Will it not reduce the cost of doing business for you? Answer is yes. This is basically GST composition scheme. Okay. Now, it will help in reducing the compliance cost for small businesses. No. I'm sorry. Yes, it will help in reducing the compliance cost for small businesses. I said no because there was a comment from the student. Sir, is this class recorded? And I wanted to answer the student no, and I went ahead and answered the statement wrong here. Right. So first statement is correct. It will reduce the cost of conducting the business for compliance cost for businesses. Small businesses cannot subscribe to this scheme if they are engaged in interstate supply of goods. That is, please understand this. Whenever the businesses are doing the trade only within one state, they can use it. When they are using it across the state lines, because please understand, when they use it across the state line, it is not simply GST, it is integrated GST. And because GST is a consumption based tax, or let's say a destination based tax, right, obviously it should be the other state which will end up getting the GST revenues. So it will complicate the issue. That is the reason under the composition scheme, basically, right, the small businesses which are conducted or which are involved in the interstate supply of goods, right, they are not allowed under composition scheme. Second statement is correct. So 1 and 2 are correct. Right option for the question is option C, both 1 and 2. Okay. How it will help in reducing compliance cost? My dear, I gave you all of that example. If you need to file the returns once in 3 months, do you need to pay, right, let's say an expert to do this, all this work? Because trust me when I say this, there are many people, many experts, let's say CAs, chartered accountants, who will provide the services to you, but they will charge you, right, on monthly basis. But now you require their services once in a quarter. Don't you think the compliance burden will come down? Right? So that is the answer. Question number 7. With reference to the concept of unemployment in India, consider the following statements. 1. The government increasing the personal income tax rate is likely to add to the unemployment trap. Right, I'll come back to this. Right, the statement is correct, by the way. The marginal productivity of labor is negative in disguised unemployment. Wrong, marginal productivity is 0. Now let's start. Now, what do you mean by unemployment trap? Right, what do you mean by unemployment trap? Unemployment trap simply means whenever the cost of doing a job is much more than income that you are earning. Right, I'll repeat it. What do you mean by unemployment trap? Whenever the cost of doing a job is much more than the income that you are earning, basically you will come to a conclusion, there is no need to work. There is no point in working. So let me quit. This is called as unemployment trap. Right? What do you mean by this? Let me give a very simple example. Imagine you will join a company and the payment in the company, I'll take a simple number so that you understand, is 100 rupee. But because you are unemployed earlier, government gave you assistance and the government assistance to you was 120 rupees. Now, simple question to you people, would you want to remain employed or would you want to remain unemployed? I hope you understand. Would you want to remain employed or would you want to remain unemployed? Right? Your option is, sir, I will remain unemployed. Why? When I remain unemployed, I would get 120 rupees. And when I get employed, I'm earning only 100. So opportunity cost of remaining unemployed is better for me. It is positive for me. So as a result of this, unemployment will increase. Right? So that is called as unemployment trap. Now, why I'm saying first statement is correct? If the income tax rates are so high, I'll give a simple example. Imagine you're earning 10,000 rupees. Already you are involved in the transportation. That is, you need to move from your house to office every day basis. Right? Let's say hypothetically that will take away, let's say 4,000 rupees from 10,000 rupee income. Then there is other expenses which will basically consume 3,000 rupees. And then there is the income tax, let's say, right, 1,500 rupees income tax. So after all of this, you have a savings of how much? 1,500 rupees. Now have a look at this, right? Have a look at this. If the government will increase the income tax from 1,500 rupees to, let's say, 3,000 rupees on you, you tell me, will you not come to a conclusion there is no point in working? Let me know. Right? Don't you think you will come to a conclusion there is no right a reasonable explanation why should I keep on working? Why I cannot save anything? And worst case scenario is, rather than 3,000, what if the government will collect, let's say, 4,000 income tax from you? You are not earning, you are actually losing. Right? So that is the reason I said, right, whenever government will increase the personal income tax rates, it is likely to add to unemployment trap. Statement 1 is correct. Marginal productivity of labor is negative in disguised unemployment. What do you mean by disguised unemployment? Whenever the number of workers will increase, when you have more number of labor, but the productivity does not change. I'll repeat the statement. What do you mean by marginal right productivity here? Whenever you have more than right number of people in the work, you have hired more people, but the productivity does not change, it remains the same. Sir, how is that possible? Imagine there were 10 people, you have hired 2 people. So total number of people were 12. But out of these 12 people, 2 people are simply not working, sitting quietly. So productivity will not change, even though you have hired more people. So productivity will not change means marginal productivity will be 0. Right? Marginal productivity will be 0, not right negative, it will be 0. So second statement is wrong. First statement is correct. Right option for this question is option A. Now there were 2 questions here. I want to address it. Why questions are not in order? For a very simple reason. If you listen to what I said in the beginning, first we looked at the questions which were there in microeconomics. Then we switched to the GDP. Then we have switched to taxation. And now we are in the last leg, last part of the discussion, employment and poverty. That is the reason it is not there in order. Second, there were 2 questions, sir, when will the class end? I believe there are another 6 to 7 questions. We will close after the 6 to 7 questions. Okay, with reference to jobless growth, consider the following statements. It is a phenomenon where the gross domestic product of an economy increases without the perceptible rise in the level of employment. Right, that is correct, by the way. Jobless growth will lead to lowering of employment elasticity. I'll go one by one. That's correct. Jobless growth could lead to chronic employment. That's also correct. Now, what do you mean by all of this? Let's start. Whenever you talk about jobless growth, it measures how productive is the growth in terms of generation of jobs. I'll repeat the statement. What is the meaning of a jobless growth? Sorry, what do you mean by employment elasticity? I'll go to jobless growth, my mistake. What do you mean by employment elasticity? It simply means whenever there is a change in the GDP, there should be a change in the employment. So we are trying to measure that. The formula is very simple. Percentage change in the employment divided by percentage change in the GDP. This is employment elasticity. This is employment elasticity, right? Have a look at this. Whenever you talk about employment elasticity, what would you prefer? Would you prefer a higher employment elasticity or a lower employment elasticity? Your answer should be, sir, higher employment elasticity is preferable. Why? Look at it and just try and understand. It should make sense to you. With GDP growth rate, you should be able to create more and more jobs. If you are creating more and more jobs, the numerator increases. And when the numerator increases, employment elasticity automatically increases. Now, the question is about jobless growth. What do you call as a jobless growth? Simple. Whenever a country will achieve growth rate, GDP increases, but the employment growth rate doesn't increase by much. I hope you understand this. Right? There is a growth in the GDP, but employment numbers do not change by much. That is called as jobless growth phenomenon. It is a phenomenon where GDP, right, increases without a perceptible rise in the level of employment. First statement is correct, by the way. Second, jobless growth will lead to lowering of employment elasticity. You tell me, after discussing all of this, GDP increases, the numerator doesn't increase by much. What will happen to employment elasticity? The employment elasticity will be lower, right? So second statement is correct. Third one, jobless growth could lead to chronic unemployment. Chronic unemployment means higher unemployment rate for a very longer duration, right? There is unemployment rate, higher one for a very longer duration. That is called as a chronic unemployment. Yes, jobless growth can lead to chronic unemployment in an economy. Example for this is India itself. And all of this jobless growth situation was discussed in the context of India. Okay, right? So question number 12, right option is option D, 1, 2 and 3. Question number 26. A person who was employed earlier lost a job due to recessionary phase of the economy. Which one of the following types of unemployment is faced by that person? Right? Which is the unemployment which is faced by that person? It's a straightforward question. It is basically cyclical unemployment. It is a cyclical unemployment. Right? What is the meaning of it? Simple. Whenever there is a change in the cycle in the economy, that is, whenever there is a change in the phase of the economy, from growth, you will shift to, let's say, slowdown. From slowdown, you will enter into recession. So whenever you keep on moving from one stage in the economy to other stage in the economy, basically unemployment rate will take place. For example, from growth, if you enter into recession, unemployment is created. That type of unemployment is called as cyclical unemployment. Okay, so the right option for the question number 26 is option B, right? That is right, cyclical unemployment. Question number 32. Question number 32. With reference to the concept of unemployment in India, consider the following statements. Right, when a person is employed below his or her education and skill level, it is termed as underemployment. Right, that is basically the definition of underemployment. Whenever, let's say, you are a graduate, postgraduate, you will apply for, let's say, a clerical work in a government position. Is it not underemployment? Yes, it is underemployment. First one is correct. Unemployment which emerges from the seasonal nature of some of the works, like agriculture activity, is termed as cyclical unemployment. No, this is called as seasonal unemployment. This is referred to as seasonal unemployment. That is, whenever there is a change in the weather, like this, some of the unemployment will be created. That is, for example, whenever there's a sowing season, you will get a job. Whenever the sowing season is over, right, you are unemployed, right? That is seasonal unemployment. Second statement is wrong. I need to find which are incorrect. Right option for the question will be B, 2 only. Okay. Question number 74. Consider the following statements with reference to All India Quarterly Establishment-Based Employment Surveys and Periodic Labor Force Surveys. These are the two very important surveys which are published even today. And please understand the importance of both of them. In one case, that is, let's say AQEES, AQEES, we collect the data from the generator of the job. That is, from the companies, we collect the data. And when you talk about periodic labor force, we collect the data from the market, how many people are employed, how many people are unemployed, right? So that is a basic idea. One is basically a demand side survey, that is companies are demanding what kind of a labor, and the second one is a supply side survey, that is what kind of labor is being supplied in the market, right? So second statement there itself is correct, right? AQEES will basically conduct the survey from the demand side, that is what kind of a labor is demanded in the market, whereas a PLFS, periodic labor force survey, which is conducted by NSO, National Statistical Organization, which functions under MOSPI, Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation, right? So PLFS provides a supply side of the labor market. So second statement is correct. They are published by the Labor Bureau, Ministry of Labor and Employment. First statement is wrong. Why? AQEES is published by Labor Bureau and periodic labor force survey is published by NSO. Okay, right? So first statement is wrong. Second statement is correct. You need to find which are correct. Right option will be option B, 2 only. Question number 78. Which one of the following correctly explains moonlighting? Very easy question. Very easy question. Why? If you have been reading the newspaper, all of this was there in the newspaper. What is this moonlighting? In simple terms, whenever you have right one job, you have a job, but apart from this job, you will also take up the second job. Is it okay? Simple concept. You have a job, but in addition to this job, you will take up the second job. That is called as a moonlighting. Now, many of you will ask me, sir, why this is called as a moonlighting? The reason is very simple here, right? If you take the traditional concept of work, 10 to 5, you will work for one company. And after 5 o'clock, that is in the evening time, when the moon will start appearing, during the moonlight, you will start working in your second job. Hence, this is called as moonlighting. Right? So, straightforward question, not at all difficult. This question is not at all difficult. It is basically act of working at another job without informing the original employer. Okay? Right? So, right option for this question is option C. Next, question number 81. Consider the following statements with reference to minimum wages. Kind of a tricky statement. Follow this carefully. Minimum wages set below the market price for labor increases unemployment. What do you think? Right? If the minimum wages are set below the market price for labor, will it increase unemployment? Will it increase unemployment? What do you think should happen? Understand this very carefully. No, it should not happen. It should not increase unemployment. Let me explain. Let me explain this. Follow this carefully. Imagine in the market for now, per day, you are earning 400 rupees. You are earning 400 rupees. And right now, the minimum wages are set at 320 rupees. Right? Is it okay? Minimum wages are set below the market prices for labor. Do you think this is going to increase unemployment? How? How, you tell me? Minimum wages are 320, but the companies are offering you 400. Do you think that is going to increase unemployment or employment? Right? So exactly opposite. I hope you understand it will have an impact of exactly opposite. Right? Vice versa. Let me tell you. What if the minimum wages are set above the market prices? That is right now, right? Imagine you are my employer. You are paying me 400. Government will tell you to pay 600. I hope you understand. Government will ask you to pay me 600 rupees. Now tell me, right? Will it not increase unemployment then? Right? Any difficulty in understanding this? If the market prices for the labor is lower than the minimum prices, if the minimum wages are higher and the market price is lower, I would want to get the minimum wage. Right? If I keep on asking you, if government will ask you to pay minimum wages, you would rather fire me rather than pay minimum wages. I understand, right? So exactly opposite. First one is wrong. If the minimum wage is set too high or increased too much, this could trigger price inflation and may hurt exports. Straightforward statement. First statement is tricky, I understand. Second one is a straightforward statement. If you are going to pay, if the minimum wages will increase, what will happen to the wages that you are paying, going to pay to your employees? You will have to pay higher wages to your employees. And when you pay higher wages to employees, right, don't you think this will basically lead to built-in inflation? Let me know. Will it not lead to built-in inflation? Yes, it will lead to built-in inflation. The product cost or product price will increase. It will affect your exports. It will hurt your exports. There's a concept called as price wage spiral. Price wage spiral. All of that is connected here. Second statement is correct. Right option for the question is option B, 2 only. 2 only. 3 more questions are there. Then we'll wind up the discussion. Consider the following statements with regards to gig workers in India. Gig workers. What do you mean by gig workers? Simple, right? These are not having a standard employee-employer relation. What do you mean by employer-employee relation? Tomorrow, once you pass, let's say, civil service examination and you become an IS officer, there is an agreement between you and the government of India. Government of India is the employer, you are the employee. There is an agreement as to what is your salary, right? How many days you will have to work, right? Etc. 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 But when you talk about gig worker, there is no such contract. There is no such agreement that exists between them. Right, so only the labor code on the social security and the code on wages define gig workers. It's a factual statement. Wrong. Labor code on social security talks about gig workers, not of wages. Indian labor codes provide for social security fund for the gig workers. It is correct. It is correct, right? This particular statement is correct. Only platform workers are allowed to register on the eShram portal. This is very often cited in the newspaper. eShram portal has been set up by the government to target unorganized sector workers. Unorganized. Anybody who belongs to unorganized sector can be registered under the eShram portal, not just platform workers. So third one is wrong. And some of you are asking, sir, what do you mean by platform workers? Generally, whenever we are using a platform in the sense a certain digital, right, platform to provide services, these are called as platform workers, right? So labor codes provide for social security fund. Yes, that's a fact. It is correct. So right option for the question will be option A. Only one statement. Only one statement is correct. Okay. Question number 18. Consider the following statements with reference to Lorenz curve. Higher the gap between the Lorenz curve, that is a curve of a country, and the perfect equality curve, lower will be the inequality in such a country. This is wrong. I'll explain. Just give me some time. And we are left out with 2 questions. Have patience. The perfect equality line has a slope of a 0 in the curve, right? This is also wrong. Now let me explain. What do you mean by a Lorenz curve? First, you will have to draw a square like this and assume this is exact square. I know it doesn't look like a square. Assume this is exactly a square. And the diagonal that I draw, this is called as a perfect equality line. This is called as a perfect equality line. And whenever you draw this line like this, a diagonal, which basically has an angle of 45 degrees. Don't worry, I'm not going to teach trigonometry now. The slope of the line is always 1. Remember this. The slope of the line is always 1. Now you'll ask me, sir, what do you mean by slope? Slope simply means, right, what is the movement along y-axis divided by movement along x-axis. Simple. What is the movement along y-axis divided by movement along x-axis? For example, if I take 2 points here, this point and this point. So how much is the movement along y-axis divided by how much is the movement along x-axis? That is called as a slope. Always remember this. Slope of a 45-degree line is 1. Because whatever movement you will observe along y-axis, same movement you will observe along x-axis. Slope is always 1. And let me add one more point here. whenever the line is vertical like this, whenever the line is vertical like this, slope is infinite. Slope is infinite. And whenever the line is horizontal, slope is 0. Now, after the class is over tomorrow, right, when you're sitting quietly, right, and wondering what you should do in economics, think of these two statements. Slope of a vertical line is infinite. Slope of, right, the horizontal line is 0. And these can be asked, by the way. I'll tell you where context, where, sir, where can they be asked? These are very improbable questions. Improbable, but can be asked. Where? Demand curve, supply curve. I understand demand curve and supply curve, right? Don't you think there is a concept of a question being asked, right? Definitely yes. Please be very careful. Done. Okay. Perfect equality line has a slope of 0, no 45 degrees, slope of 1. Statement 2 is wrong. Higher the gap between curve of a country and the perfect equality curve, lower will be the inequality. No. Generally, what we do in the context of the Lorentz curve is, first we draw this perfect equality line, and then we start drawing, right, the curves of other countries. And always remember this, whenever the gap between perfect equality line and the curve of a country is widening, I understand, whenever the gap between the perfect equality line and, right, the curve, right, that is a question, right, gap, okay, it is widening, it is becoming higher, inequality doesn't reduce, inequality rather increases, right? What do you mean by this? I'll take a point. Imagine this is a point, right, and this is falling on the perfect equality line as well as the curve of a country. And let's say along x-axis, right, this is representing, let's say 70% of the population, right, it is representing 70% of the income. So perfect equality line means what? 70% of the population is earning 70% of the income. That's very easy. Perfect equality. But what is happening in this context? Right? What is happening here? Right? Here it is completely different. 70% of the population is simply earning, let's say, 30% of the only income. Which means there is higher inequality in a country. So remember this. Whenever the curve of a country and the perfect equality line, the gap is widening, inequality is increasing. Whenever the gap is narrowing, the inequality is reducing. And if a curve of a country falls on the perfect equality line, then simply means that country doesn't have any inequality. There is perfect equality in a country, meaning 20% of the population is earning 20% of income. Right? 50% of the population is earning 50% of the income. That is perfect equality. Right? Both the statements are wrong. I need to find out which are correct. Neither one nor two. Neither one nor two. And final question for the day. Final, right, question for the day. Which one of the following with reference to, right, Palmer ratio is correct? Again, this was there in the newspaper, right? There was a report that was published by OECD. That is a context where Palmer ratio is actually referred to. Palmer ratio basically measures, right, understand this, how much is the income earned by the top 10% with, right, bottom 40%. Simple, right? Simple here. What this ratio measures is how much is the total income, right? How much is the total income earned by top 10% of the population divided by bottom 40% of the population. And some of you will ask me, sir, what do you mean by top 10, bottom 40, etc.? If I arrange all the people in India from the person who earns the lowest to person who earns the highest, and if I take, let's say, top 10%, that is what I'm talking about here. And bottom 40%, this is what I'm talking about here. So argument is simple, right? The Palmer ratio, it shows the gap between the richest 10% and bottom 40% of the population, right? Now you tell me, what should be the ratio, right? Do you think the ratio should be very high? How many think ratio should be very, very high? No, right? So that basically is a problem, right? That is a problem. Ratio should be lower. If the ratio is very, very high, simply means top, that is a numerator, top 10% are earning very, very high amount of income, very, very high amount compared to, let's say, even 40% of the lower part of the population, right? So understand this. This is basically the idea of a PAMA ratio. Done. Okay, so question number 47, the right option is option A. Okay, so these are the various questions that I wanted to discuss from economy paper 1, economy paper 1, right? Sectional paper. Going forward, please understand, going forward, sectional papers will keep on happening. Please attend every Sunday 9:30 a.m. the papers go live online. If you want to go to a center nearby you, that is Byju's exam prep center, and you want to write the exam, you want to get the feel of how it is to write an exam in the morning 9:30 as per the UPSC requirement, you can very well do that. Go to your nearest Byju's exam prep center and the question paper will be made available to you. Done. Right, so these are the questions that I wanted to discuss. Remaining questions basically are factual information questions. You can just have a look at the question as well as the explanation. The conceptual ones, the difficult ones, that is what I've taken here. Okay, done. So these are the things that I wanted to discuss with all of you people, right? Take care. See you again next time, right? Take care. Good night.